what are the things that really fulfill me if I was at the end of the day just saying, this is the thing I want to do. This is the thing that I really love doing. Because I'm excellent at a lot of things, but not everything fills my cup.
Today's incredible episode of Spill the Tea with LLIB features the amazing Luna Muñoz. So Luna, can you share with our listeners a little bit more about your business and the unique aspects that set it apart?
So I have a business called Luna Leadership, which I started a few years ago. And I do career coaching and consultancy for organizations, grants, evaluation, things like that. But I'm also a career coach. So I help a lot of people leave higher education and pursue more fulfilling work that doesn't lead to burnout. So just getting out of the academic pipeline and doing something else, or being in the box, but thriving in the box. They either leave the box, stay in the box, or disrupt the box even, because I love like when people disrupt the boxes.
So what is the box?
Like the ivory tower, being in higher education. And while I was there, I did a lot of disruption while I felt like quite secure as a senior lecturer, kind of got promoted. I stayed quiet for a long time. And then I went, you know what? This box needs a little bit of disruption. And then I ended up leaving higher education in 2021 to start my own business. So yeah, now I help people to kind of, a lot of people want to help people in academia, give them options that are not just, because there's not enough lectureships, for example, for people who are doing PhDs. So, and there's a lot of other skills that they have, a lot of transferable skills, but they might not see that because maybe your supervisor doesn't have that kind of experience of working outside of academia. So it's difficult for them to advise.
Yeah.
So I go in there now. I sometimes go to universities and say, these are the kinds of skills that you have. Look, you've got like research, teaching, administrative skills working in the community, perhaps. There's so much you can do. So I love giving people like opening Pandora's box and giving them so many ideas and then going, okay, now that we have like everything on the table, how do we puzzle piece everything together so that you're using the skills that fulfill you, the legacy that you want to leave, and the way that you want to live your life now? Because usually in academia, you move where the job is, which is why this American has moved all over the world, was for academia, moving for the job. You go where the job is.
Yeah.
But at some point I went, you know what? I want to live in Liverpool when I got here.
It was the weather, wasn't it? It was the weather that pulled you in.
Absolutely love grey.
Yeah,
I love it. So what was your journey like before you developed Luna Coaching? Like, what was that? What inspired you to then go, no, do you know what? Or what was that pivotal moment that you just went, no, I'm not doing this no more. Like, this is what I'm going to do. Talk to us about your journey.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a person who's quite not really fit in, but also wanted to fit in. So I've been on a big journey through school. School was supposed to be the way that I got out of poverty. Like, my family are from Puerto Rico, and we moved to the
Just
US.
say that again.
Puerto Rico.
I love it.
La Isla de Borinquen, that's the original word. But obviously the colonizers came and called it Puerto Rico. But it is a Puerto Rico. It's a rich port. And so the way to get out of our situation was always through education. So my mom was like, you need to work hard, you need to get good grades. I'd get like taken out to dinner at like somewhere nicer if I got good grades and things like that. And so I always tried to then kind of people please throughout that. Yeah. But I always felt kind of on the sidelines and not really fitting in. Actually, it's funny, like I think it was 11th grade, I was voted most unique in high school, which is quite an oxymoron to say most unique. But anyway, so I felt like I was in that kind of sidelines, but I wanted to fit in. And so the way that people said to then get to a place where you wouldn't maybe be having to be on food stamps or get on benefits was through more and more education. And so that's what I did. I just kept going for more and more. And even when I was not getting into the programs that I had applied to, sometimes, I spent thousands of dollars trying to get into programs and only getting into one perhaps. And then that falling through, and I had so many blocks along the way. But my persistence was about like, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to show the world that I'm valuable by the work that I'm doing. And so like my value, like I started to get a little bit of like, my value is how much I'm working and how much I'm achieving. And that fed into like academia and what I did when I was in the UK as a lecturer, senior lecturer. And there came a point where I was just burnt out. You know, we're doing all the things. You have to be excellent at everything. I have to be excellent at teaching. I should get good student recommendations. I should get good awards for my research. I should do, you know, I also need to be doing stuff for the community. I was working with schools. I was working with the Troubled Families program and evaluating that. I was, there was a Cradle to Career program on the Whirl that I was involved with. And I just burnt out doing all those things. And at some point I went, what are the things that really fulfill me if I was at the end of the day just saying, this is the thing I want to do. This is the thing that I really love doing. Because I'm excellent at a lot of things, but not everything fills my cup. There's a lot of draining things. And that's when I decided to leave academia, but I didn't leave.
Yeah.
I helped other people leave. I helped my PhD students leave. I was helping everybody else with their mask, you know, the oxygen mask before I put mine on. And there came a time when academia kind of pushed me out when I was being made redundant. And I fought it. I'm a fighter at heart. I feel like everybody in Puerto Rico are actual like fighters. And the fight came out of me and I was like, give me the microphone, put me in front of people, and I'm going to talk about the realities of higher education and neoliberalism. And I was just calling everything out. And at the end of the day, I wasn't made redundant. I did get a good send-off. And with that send-off funds, I created Luna Leadership. But I did apply for other jobs and I applied for other academic jobs. But I realized, why are you doing this, Luna? Like it's all validation. It's all seeking approval. This actually does not make you happy. What is inside of you? And what do people value that aren't in academia? And that's when I decided to branch out. Nobody in my family had ever done that. Nobody in my family had ever done a PhD. Like nobody in my family had ever gone to a different country. Like it's all different things that I've done. And yeah, so it's been a journey of finding out who I am as well and finding out how strong I am, but also that I don't need to keep fighting anymore and that I can just live with more ease. And I think that's something that I try to bring through in my coaching, my consultancy is like, how can we create like community and camaraderie where things are happening because there's like an ignition, you know, with everybody sparked together. So I love helping people figure out like that spark.
So a lot of self-development then that wasn't in academia that you had to go through, like a journey of self-discovery. And did that take quite a little while or did it come easy to you?
Yes, it's a lot of self-discovery. Yeah. So before I left academia, I was in counseling, especially during the redundancy, and I felt worthless. Did a lot of counseling, a lot of psychotherapy. EMDR also saved me if anybody, you know, has been through that journey. Because I realized I had a lot of kind of, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder from when I was a child and all the things that I went through as a child. You know, living in poverty and moving every 4 or 5 years with my family, not because of like being in the military or not because of like corporate opportunities, but was really like out of necessity.
Yeah.
You know, and because my dad was on drugs for a lot of his life, we moved around a lot because of that as well. So I've had a lot of like things to overcome. And I'd try therapy and then be like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. And then there came a time where I wasn't fine. And I realized, actually, I need to go on this journey. And somebody told me, your lows will be much lower. Your highs will be much higher. Rather than living in this, I'm fine. And that was a big journey. And then after I left academia, I did a course. I did 2 courses. I did Bounce Back from Burnout, which connected us to our emotions much more, but also made us think more in the present moment and connect more with our bodies. And my PhD, the first part of my PhD, where I tried to do it at Penn State University, my master's there was on stress and cardiovascular activity. And I then realized I was using all those meditation techniques, but learning them for myself rather than studying them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was incredible. And then I took a course on kind of acceptance and commitment therapeutic techniques, which connected me to this thing called DNAV, where you make decisions based on your values. You make decisions based on not your advisor in your brain, which we always have, this kind of Jiminy Cricket, you should do this. Oh, have you done that? Oh, that email, did you answer it? You know, or thinking you should have said this, or you should have done that. I can't believe you did that because that was the wrong thing to do. And so you're always living in the like advisor mode of what you should do, what you should have done. And you're never living in the noticing, which is the end part of it, just noticing and becoming more aware of your body, and then knowing your values, having all of that as your core foundation, then guides you to making decisions and commitments that are from your spirit, your body, your mind, your emotions. And that's been a big journey for me, is really connecting to that, not just in learning it and helping other people do it and helping my child do it, but also for myself and really guiding. And it's been such a journey that some of my clients are like, Luna, it's been a year since we worked together. And every day I think, is this aligning with my values?
Yeah,
She's like, I'm not being dramatic.
so
That's exactly what I do. And I was like, that's it.
So important, isn't it?
So what do you find most fulfilling about the work that you do?
I love when people come to the realization that they have so much to offer in the career coaching, but also in my consultancy. So working with NGOs and CICs, and I work with Capoeira for All, Beautiful New Beginnings, CASA, all these, the Blackie, and all the things that they do. I love speaking to them about the things that they're doing and creating stories of impact and legacy and contribution, and letting them see, you could call it your unique selling point, but there is like a story behind it. And I love metaphors, playing with metaphors around it. And the most fulfilling thing is that I can bring my whole self to my business because I am a silly, playful person. One of the things I did when while I was in academia, I did a talk for International Women's Day, and I brought a hula hoop, and I was like, do you know how many hoops women have to jump through to get promoted in academia? And then I just started hula hooping, and it's like, I was being serious and, you know, citing facts and figures, but then I was like, get my hula hoop going. So I love combining, and I feel like that's quite disarming as well. Nobody can be like, oh, shut up, if you're like, I'm just having fun. So I love combining fun with the work that I do. And I feel like I can do that a lot more now. In academia, I would do it. Like I would do some virtual reality within my research, or driving games in my research with kids in different schools in the Northwest. But now I feel like I can bring dancing into my coaching. I can bring a little bit of capoeira into my coaching. When I'm working with organizations, like, you know, we can do fun things when we're having business meetings, like mini golf or bowling or something. And it's about combining that fun. I went to Guatemala 2 weeks ago to finish up a research project on gender-based violence and prevention in Latin America. And we went and saw a volcano. Wow. We were jumping on trampolines together, like this group of women who are all, you know, professors or, you know, heads of NGOs in Colombia, Brazil. We just had so much fun at the same time as like cracking down and going, okay, what's our next project that we're going to apply for so that we can continue to do impactful work? So I just think there has to be more fun, and that's what 100%. Fulfills me.
And I think there's so many of our systems out there, isn't there, that are so restrictive now and so unfit for purpose that the staff within them only see themselves as being fit for that job because they're only qualified for that. And we see so many teachers who come through Leading Ladies who, you know, have left the profession, and then others who are desperate to leave while they're still there, who don't think that they're qualified to do anything else. And when you start looking at their transferable skill, it is an incredible range of skill, isn't it? Exactly. But taking that brave leap, and I think, God, there does need to be so much more fun in academics in general. Our children are voting with their feet and leaving the education system in droves.
Yeah.
There are so many children who are unhappy. Home ed is up by a record amount of children, and it's not that teachers don't want to have fun through learning. They do. It's just that the systems that are put in place via Ofsted and government are there to restrict all of that enjoyment almost. And so if we turn our children off learning and there's no enjoyment in learning, where on earth are we as a society?
Yes.
And the same with our teachers. If our teachers, our good teachers, are not having fun in their jobs with the children in front of them, then they leave the profession and we lose our good teachers. And where are our next generation then?
Yeah.
There's
I lost
so
my
much
creativity.
work to be done.
I lost my creativity. I mean, at least we had arts in schools, but a lot of them are getting cut.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
we
you've
had
got
trauma
spellings
and
to
things
get
like
through.
that.
And,
yeah, exactly. Or like doing attendance and making sure that every kid is attending regardless of their mental health.
Yeah.
And saying that attendance is correlated with good mental health. That's because kids who are already succeeding in, kind of managing and, in their executive control and their emotion regulation are being able to go to school. So you don't know the cause and effect direction from those figures.
Yeah.
It could be that kids who are quite happy are attending school. Yeah, you're seeing that correlation. With my child, we ended up doing home education in 2020. Because we were then in lockdown, and I was like, the school isn't supporting my child. Mental health was being cut. There wasn't as many counseling or, pastoral care, facilities. And school makes you disconnect with your body, right? You have to, can I go to the toilet, miss? Can I have a drink of water? Like, you are disconnecting.
Can I take my jumper off? In secondary schools, you have to ask to take your jumper off.
No, my kid
would tell me. You can't even regulate your own temperature.
Yeah. My kid would overheat because they couldn't take their jackets off because they have to look a certain way during the day. And it really, that's the start of, I think, the burnout, is because you lose all connection with what do I need? What are my basic needs? And I think that's like a huge thing. So and my child, we then learned they're autistic, and that was after we started home education. And after that, then I was made redundant, and I started to question, what is higher education? What is education? And unlearn and deconstruct what education should be, and how creativity and arts should be combined. And we shouldn't just go, STEM at all costs, because that has a direct link into the job market. But actually, we know that a lot of STEM needs humanities involvement in it. Otherwise, it's not going to be an ethical pursuit of those. I could
we could go on about this all day, couldn't we?
I think you do lose a massive part of your identity, whatever career you go into, university, or if you just walk straight into a job, a position after school. I think a lot of the titles that we are gifted in life, whether that be professor or it's mum or it's wife, or, it takes a lot from our own identity, and we start to merge into what we believe society is going to accept, and we're scared to put those raw things out there in case of, judgment. And I do feel like we all need to just tap into our own identities and ask yourself, it's not a sausage factory. We're not all going to be the same, but it's going to be that difference that makes you different and makes you shine, and makes the world a better place because you're in it, and you're just not pretending to be something that you deem society is going to accept. It's really sad, isn't it?
Yeah. I probably own about 30 hats. And I love saying, you can change identity as often as you change your hat. And so I have some of my, when I was in academia and now with my clients, I used to have them make a paper hat and write all the identities that are visible to other people. and what are the identities that are invisible to other, or like that you don't show to other people. Write them on the inside of the hat, because there's so many identities we don't show to other people, whether you're neurodiverse or LGBTQI+ or anything like that. There's so many things that are like hidden versus, or even me being Puerto Riqueña, like I'm white passing, right? But I'm also Afro-Caribbean, you know, in background. And those things don't show unless you hear my name maybe, but you might think I'm Spanish. You don't know I'm from the Caribbean, you know? So I think there's a lot of things to play around with that plurality of identities that we have, and getting in touch with them is so important. I've been doing that work as well, like really connecting with my ancestors and who they are. And it's just powerful work to do as well.
I love that.
So if you could be remembered for one thing, that's really hard, isn't it? But what would that be? Especially when we've just been talking about all the hats. Just pick one.
Pick one hat.
What would you like to be remembered for?
Probably a playful hat. I think play. Also, I've been playing around with my business coach on like who I am as a person in terms of my brand, I suppose. But she said, I feel like you're rated R. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I love that. I want to be remembered as being rated R, almost being made redundant, being kind of a rebel, being very reflective and kind of reinventing myself all the time. We moved around a lot. Refreshing. What else?
Rejuvenated.
Rested. I'd love to be rested.
I'd love to be rested. God, here. Wouldn't we all love to be rested? Three children. Rested and refreshed,
Yes,
that's a dream.
That is definitely the dream. And so traveling really helps with that as well. Like I realized what a travel bunny I am. A roamer. Yes. I love that.
Roamer, yeah.
I need to write this down.
Yeah.
Pen and piece of paper.
Some good reels coming up there.
Yes.
I love that.
I love it. I want like
for every day.
Sweater with like a red R, you know, kind of like the Scarlet A, but a Scarlet R.
Yes. I love that. Red sweater as well.
Fancy having that much knowledge about yourself though, that you can create yourself a jumper with all of your R's.
Yeah.
Well done you. That's a long way that you've come.
So you can wear your jumper to, if you want a tea party, then that's absolutely fine. But if you could spill the tea with anyone to have a nice cup of tea with somebody, who would it be and why?
I don't want to cry, but I think my dad, he died when I was 15 and he had like a hard life, but I feel like he had a piercing in his septum. He was really into Santeria, which is kind of like, it's like the Dominican Republic or like more that side of kind of voodoo, but it's not voodoo, Santeria. But it's very rooted in African tradition of yorishas and things like that. And I've been doing a lot of research on it because I want to connect more with him. I have his tarot deck and I've been pulling a card every day. And it's really connected me with him. And I'd love to hear, because I think I was so driven by education. And he wrote me a letter. I have this letter and he said, I love you as much as you love school.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, that's, it says a lot about me as a small child, but also it's like, wow, he knew what was important to me and that getting an education was so important, but I love connecting with the woo-woo of me as well as this kind of like more cerebral. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to hear from him about his cerebralness as well as his woo-woo-ness, because I know that he stopped so many people from going into drugs. Mm-hmm. I found a newspaper article about him from 1972, so 2 years before I was born. And it talked about how he developed this thing called the friendship train. Oh. And it was about getting people to understand the effects of drugs on their lives.
Wow.
And my mom said he was so charismatic and could just connect with people. And I think I'd love to tell him that that's who I've become.
Yeah. Oh my God, absolutely.
You are.
Wow.
And he would be so proud of that as well.
Yeah.
I think so. Oh. I'd love to hear, what he thinks about me today. You know what I mean? About like that we've been kind of parallel in our lives, just in terms of the way that, I mean, I called myself friendly when I was 7 years old, as if Luna isn't weird enough. But I met some kids on the playground and they're like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "Friendly." And then they go up to my mom and they're like, "Is your daughter's name Friendly?" And she was like, "Do I like back her up or do I go now?" I think she backed me up.
Oh, bless her.
But there is something about, you know, that I don't know, our sense of community together. And I think that's the big thing. And I'd love to talk to him about how to build community more. So I think I could have learned a lot more from him.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I did cry a little bit.
You did really well.
Let it out.
So this is the time when me or Claire could potentially cry, Luna.
Okay.
I know. Don't make it be me today, Luna.
Oh gosh. There's so much pressure.
But on this show, we have a closing tradition. And I feel like you must know how tea is made all over the world. And I feel like you must have drunken.
I must have messed up some teas.
Now I think that you must have drunk an incredible amount of tea that was both gorgeous and disgusting in equal measure as well.
Made the right way, made the wrong way.
Yeah.
I lived in Puerto Rico. I lived in New Orleans, which is where I did my PhD. I lived in Sweden, which is where I did my postdoc.
Sweden is
all of those have a
beautiful.
lot of coffee in them.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then I had an Irish doctoral student come to my
I feel like
office one
she'd know
time.
the way. We had Maggie O'Carroll. I feel like she would know the way to make a cup of tea.
So I have a confession. She asked for a cup of tea because I was like, "What can I get for you?" And I put the milk in with the tea bag.
Of course you did.
And when she left my office after our hour-long meeting,
The tea was
none
still there.
of it was drunk.
That would be me.
Did you leave the tea bag in?
No, I did
you
take it out. No, I did. I think I did take it out.
Maybe the conversation was just so good that she didn't get time to drink the tea.
But I
Or
usually
maybe she
do.
saw you and was like this.
Because I did take it out in front of her, so she knew the milk was already in there.
Maybe.
That's it.
Yeah.
See?
Maybe.
Did she ever work with you again? Did she come round for another cuppa? Or did she bring a bottle of water? Right now.
Never mind, Luna. It's
Yeah.
fine.
So how would you make a perfect cup of tea
I think
then?
she's just
I
said.
usually do put milk with the bag and then put the water in. And yeah, I don't mind if it's watery because I find it a little bit
Yeah.
bitter. You would think that would be true for coffee, but actually I like my coffee black. Which,
Wow.
yeah, thank you for making me coffee earlier.
I think Cal was absolutely adamant you were going to be Team Cal then.
Well, do you know
sorry.
what? It was the academia side. I thought you'd be cleverer than that, Luna, to be honest.
We're not clever. We know a very small amount of information.
Very specialised subject.
So you are
but, you
a
know.
Team Claire.
No common sense.
Are you a July baby as well? I
Yes.
got that right. We're July
Yes.
babies. I remember.
There you go.
Yeah, we are July
Steer
babies.
clear of those.
Very emotional, very sensitive.
We are very emotional, very
Please
yeah.
validate
but
my
when we
tea.
we love hard, don't we? We definitely do.
Very loyal as well.
And because of all the incredible work you're doing with BNB, I would drink your tea just for you because you
means a
are
lot.
an incredible asset.
That does mean a lot
with
coming
an
from Cal.
incredible skill set.
Incredible. I'm so touched. Thank you. I'm gonna cry.
Are you okay?
I wouldn't really drink the tea. I'm just saying it.
Because she cried.
Because I'm not offering her one right now.
There you
so
go.
it's
There
not
you go.
happening.
Oh, Luna, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today.
Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for having me.